Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Be me, Gunpla nerd, working through a model kit. Use the dining room table as a workbench because I have no space elsewhere. I always feel a sense of dread when I'm alone. The room isn't even scary, just crowded. Middle of the day, still bright out. Put shit on in the background because I'm a friend who hates silence but also hates the sound of my family talking. Good ass episode of Sleepy Cast, Corey spouting bullshit as per usual. All of a sudden feel like there's someone else in the room with me. See something move past the chair parallel to me. Look up. Nothing. I forgot I closed the door when I came in. Only creatures in the room, cats elsewhere. Unnerving, but I'm paranoid anyway, so who cares? Go back to baby raging about small parts and almost losing them because my palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms spaghetti. About 20 minutes go by, forget about it completely. Feeling of not being alone returns. This time it's fucked. Some awful energy coming from one corner of the room. It's near the door. Fuck. Frozen in place, can't concentrate. Imagine someone staring you down with absolute fury. That's what this thing felt like. Lingers for a good 5 minutes straight. Genuine feeling of danger. Fight or flight on maximum overdrive. Couldn't do either. Try to hopefully lock eyes with whatever the fuck it is. Chicken out when the dread intensifies. Persists for another 5 minutes. Eventually dissipates. Next day. Talk to my dad about it. A little bit of background on my dad. He's a spiritual friend. Believes in rock powers and incense and that humanity was created by the Anunnaki. Pinnacle of greenpilled. He's an expert mental gymnast. My dad suspects it's some kind of malicious entity. Over the next few weeks, conduct some cleansing rituals. The rest of the family makes fun of him for putting lemons all over the house. I don't know either, but it's the best we got. Told me he tried everything in the book. A few days go by. Sister tells me she felt something fucked up in there. I didn't even tell her about it myself. Paranoia mode activated. Approach dad about it together. Confirms there's a malevolent energy in there. Me being the cynical fuck I am, I try to call bullshit even though I agree with him. As we're talking about it in the living room, hear a bang from the kitchen. I ran over, and saw a hammer had dropped on the floor in front of the fridge. WTF. No cats in sight. Tell the others. Dad says it should be on top of the fridge and that it was too far back to have just tipped off. Sister didn't even know there was a hammer up there. Shithole apartments for the rest of the night. I didn't bother picking the hammer up. I ain't fucking with that. Some other shit has happened mainly concerning distinctly human footsteps where there shouldn't be and inexplicable feelings of being watched throughout the house. But I don't want to make this too long, nor do I want to throw in short 3-line anecdotes. Problems still persist to this day. 3 people have verified that something's wrong here, and even my sister's boyfriend has had a first-hand experience.
My life is boring and I did not find ghosts, aliens, or shit yet, but when I was 5 I saw a blonde girl in the kitchen. I asked my mom who she was and my mom said there was no one there. Later she showed me a picture of a dead blonde cousin of mine. In that house, I also saw shadows running in the yard, but that's it. After a few years, we moved. In the house we moved to, my mom swears she saw footprints on the wall. Also, my aunt got sleep paralysis there. 3 years later we moved once again, and in the new house, I heard chains moving outside once. We moved once again, and in the new house there is a hole in the wall of the air conditioner of the last guy who lived there. So to cover it, the fucker just put a fucking wooden plank there. We put the couch on the same wall, and I would sleep there, because there were 3 people and only 2 rooms. And sometimes, I heard people knocking at the plank. The thing is, we live on the 2nd floor, so there was no way for someone to come there and knock it. Also, the walls are in a closed yard that is only used by a guy who put his car there. So there is no way for someone to come inside with ladders to fuck with us.
I found an abandoned house in a very rural area last year. Other than the other few houses there, it is not directly next to the main street, but somewhat more distant in the back. It was a really nice and peaceful place, good weather. The house itself was old, but looked comfy. It was in kind of a good shape. In the back, I noticed there was an open door. To be more exact, it was missing. In one room, there were notes. "I see what you do here. You disrespect this house. In here are human remains, get out." All the rooms were empty, kind of clean apart from dust. There were no spider webs or other animal marks, despite the missing back door. I took a close look into every room. When I turned my back to the second floor, ready to leave, I absolutely clearly heard slow, very heavy footsteps on the old wooden floor. I am 100% convinced I heard them, which made me fuck off immediately. In a close village, I met a woman at a church, and because she was a local, I asked what was up with the house. She casually explained that a former woodworker lived there. But he and his wife died, so their special son was sent to a nursing home. While telling me this, she went dead serious, looked into my eyes, and said, "You were in there." Just to see her face lighten up and go on with her story, that I never dared to enter this house again, because I certainly won't mess with things I can't grasp.
Riding with grandma to Walmart during a thunderstorm. Maybe 8 or 9 years old. Look up at the sky. Ball of light coming down fairly quick. No idea of how far away it was because there was no perspective in the night sky. It floats down at an angle for a few seconds. Suddenly it exploded into a huge lightning bolt that was less than a mile from us. Grandma can confirm it too. And that's the only time I ever witnessed ball lightning. It was cool as fuck. Shared this one yesterday. Cats have a tendency to stare at random spots in the house for minutes at a time with widest pupils and tail swinging. Forgot to mention he will sit there and chitter at whatever it is. Usually it's up close to the ceiling, but it can't be ceiling popcorn because he'll also stare at drywall. 2.1 time he stared at 2 spots about 4 feet away from each other, alternating every 15 to 30 seconds and chittering even though I can't see a bug or cobweb or anything. Does this for 5 minutes straight. Also forgot to mention that if you pick him up and move him, he'll wiggle away and go right back to staring at whatever it is. Another time I am up at 4 a.m. goofing around on the PC. Hear what sounds like a younger girl laughing, maybe in teens. Think I'm hearing shit. Look at the cat, he's in an active stance and his hair is standing out on his tail. Looks back at me with the widest, what was that, eyes. Check cameras expecting some kids making mischief or whatever. None of my 4 cameras picked up anything. Finally. Staying with a friend and his mom at her friend's cabin. Cabin is in the middle of woods about 2 miles from the highway, no close neighbors, and in a private forest that we party for the weekend. Morning comes and we're heading to the car to leave. Hear a random, hello, from the forest. My friend and I both heard it. I yell, hello, back, but just birds chirping. His mom thinks we're still just drunk and stoned from the night prior and that we're hearing shit that we were, but we both know we heard that shit and looked at each other right at the same time.
Be me, about 10 to 12 years old. Midsummer, stuck at my parents' apartment, and it's so hot in the tiny room I share with my sister that I just can't sleep. Like 2 to 3 a.m., all sweaty, I go take a cold shower in the bathroom. Everyone's asleep but me, older brother's probably gone. Old, cramped place, so the bathroom door opens in the kitchen. The kitchen's window is open, and I can hear the neighbors talking and laughing in the small yard, 3 stories below. Shitty neighbor, has his yard filled with trash and rats, but overall a nice guy. I take my shower, voices continue. Mainly a loud lady that laughs at LOT moments of silence. Feels a bit eerie for some reason. Suddenly the same female voice, but it's a horrible, long, painful shout. Feels absolutely genuine. Skin crawl, frozen in place. Absolute silence. Can't make a move for like 10-15 minutes because my ass is petrified. In the yard, people continue to talk after some silence, probably the same female voice even. And it's like there's no context at all to the shout. Back to bed as fast as I can keck. I still have no idea what happened, maybe it's absolutely mundane or for some reason I misinterpreted what I heard. But it really terrified me back then. There was some other bullshit that happened in that building, like the old former janitor once banged at our door in the middle of the night with a knife in her hand, and at some point also destroyed my mom's letterbox for no apparent reason. She was a crazy, I think.
At the cabin in the country that my parents bought a few years back. Get there before the sun sets, continue playing frisbee after it gets dark. Start hearing what sounds like either a little girl or female animal screaming. Can only describe it as if they were being killed. Friend, GF, and I comment on it but keep playing. It gets closer, but not much. It couldn't have been more than a half a mile to start, but definitely not 2 houses down. Ends up happening for so long that it becomes very unsettling. And in addition, the not alone vibe that always comes at that cabin at night sets in like a thick blanket of rain. Get in the car, drive home at a good speed. Hear it once or twice more as we're leaving. Chilling, all relaxed at home an hour or two later. Hear that same exact terrible death scream somewhere behind my house, which is in town and a good 15 miles away. I have many more of varying degrees if anyone's bored or interested. Making the 3-hour drive back from GF's hometown to where we live at night. She keeps getting this eerie feeling. She ends up getting chills, but only up her right side. Passenger seat, far side, I was driving. Ends up seeing a black shadow figure come up the right side of the car into her window. Gets more chills, and a feeling of death approaching only goes stronger. Try to drive faster, only get more chills. Get off the interstate in order to ditch it, stop at a McDonald's. We park, and as she gets out she glances out the windshield and sees a black figure cross the hood. We're freaked out that it's taken this far. We eventually leave because we can't stay at McDonald's all night and get back on the interstate. Chills happen again. Cars pass us going over 70 miles per hour. Comes from behind us out of the darkness. Only one other car in sight distance a little ahead of us. That car, we realized, was driving without headlights on, or even fog lights. Had no lights from behind us, and after zooming past re-entered nearly complete blackness. Yet somehow it drove perfectly. Had a really bad feeling all night, and with that I immediately had a certain feeling that whatever just passed us wasn't human. Sitting in the bathroom, didn't feel like showering. GF is showering. I'm bored as fuck, on the toilet but not going, and the lid is down. Of course I get so bored I pick up a toothpaste tube and start reading it. 3 minutes go by. GF turns off shower. I walk up to the door and slide it open. Asks if I got up during shower. Explained no, was staring at the toothpaste tube the whole time. She explained she cracked her eyes open as she was washing her hair, and thought it was me who stuck their head in the shower and stared at her.
This is an anomaly at my house in my village, which I visit every year once or twice to chill there with my girlfriend. Apologies if it's hard to read, it's my first Greentext. Be me. Have a house in a village. Nothing fancy, 1 bedroom and 1 kitchen and bathroom. Village is almost completely abandoned. Used to have about 200 people living here, but as the economy got more centralized, people began leaving. Now has about 10 permanent residents, all nice people, friendly but minding their own business. Be 2018, spring. Me, my girlfriend and my dog come to the village house to chill for about 2 weeks. We're here before noon, and we start unloading the groceries and getting the house comfy. Brought plenty of supplies because the nearest grocery shop is in a not-so-nearby town about 5 hours away. Planted some fruit trees the year before, but they're making no progress. Looks like they're going to die, even though I'm tending them. Spend the day grilling and chilling. I love me some meat, but unlike my GF I also love salad. Make some tomato salad, but unfortunately I made a bit too much. Feel bad about throwing it away, so I decide to finish it. Can't do it, man. I'm gonna be sick, full of meat, bread, beer and tomatoes. Guess I'll dump them later. GF cuts up some watermelon. I didn't want to buy any, but she insisted, even though it's too early for tasty watermelon. Turns out it tastes like shit.
Told you so.
Nighttime comes. Take the leftover tomatoes and shitty watermelon and dump them behind the house. Go to sleep. Next day, GF wakes up early, I wake up late. She nags how she already peeled some potatoes to make some fries and how I'm doing nothing. For fuck's sake, woman, we are here to chill. I can wake up when I want. Start making some dough because I want bread to eat later for lunch. Finish up with that, eat breakfast, and go to throw away the potato peels behind the house. Drop the peels, but notice something. No tomatoes. Weird. Didn't think much about it even though it was weird. Maybe it was a stray dog who liked tomatoes and hates shitty watermelons. Go on a walk at a nearby meadow with my dog and GF. Spend the day chilling in general. Take a look at fruit trees. They seem to have grown some more leaves, and they're nice and green, and don't look dead. Huh. Well, that's neat. Evening comes. Tell GF about the missing tomatoes. She also thought it was weird and also thought it was some stray dog. Decide to spread some nasty smelling cleaning fluid from the bathroom behind the house so the dog doesn't come back. Next day, chilling around playing cards and stuff. Go to check on my trees. They look deader than before we came. What the fuck is with these trees? Confused, I go back to chilling. Grilling in the late afternoon. Preparing to eat meat, getting the bread, forgetting to make salad though. Feeling kinda lazy, GF says she'll make some for me. She never makes any and can mess it up even though it's fucking salad. She made too much. For Frank's sake, woman, how can you mess up a tomato salad? I couldn't eat all of it, so I went to throw the rest behind the house. Feel bad because I'm wasting the lovely tomatoes. Go to bed. Next day, woke up, made some French toast with the stale bread, eating it with some nice feta cheese we brought. Nice. Go to the meadow for a walk, beautiful weather and all that. Back at the house, remember how shitty the trees were yesterday. Pretty sure it's a lost cause. They looked dead as fuck, but I guess I'll go check them anyway. They're fucking alive. They're back at the state they were in the day before yesterday, little green leaves and all that. What is going on here, damn it? Confused even more than before. Playing cards with GF, tell her about the trees. She's not interested, and thinks that I know nothing about trees and it could be normal. Yeah, right. Almost bedtime. Go behind the house to throw away cores of apples GF ate. Tomatoes are gone. What? Go to sleep. Next day. Tell GF how the tomatoes are gone. She's kinda confused but tells me she's not interested in that.
Anon, seriously, it's just some tomatoes. I really don't care.
What if it's a scary tomato man coming for the tomatoes? She gets angry at me for teasing her cause she's spooked easily. Don't care really, I thought it was funny. Tomato man, haha. Later, having lunch. Regular stuff, also made salad. Make it myself, and make the right amount, no wasting this time. Yummy. Finish eating. Left some salad uneaten, came up with an idea to pick on my GF.
Anon, why didn't you munch the salad? You made enough.
Oh, I decided to share it with the tomato man. Go to throw it away behind the house. Girlfriend is mad at me. I don't care, it's pretty damn funny. Spend the rest of the day chilling. Decide to take a look at the trees. They look good. Nighttime comes, go to bed. Next day, messing about as usual. Almost forgot to mess with my girlfriend. Hey, I'm just gonna go check if the tomato man likes the salad. She's annoyed, I'm amused. Look behind the house. Cucumbers are here, but tomatoes are gone. They're actually gone. What the heck? Tell my girlfriend. She's really pissed now. No, I'm serious, come and see. She does, and is freaked out.
Anon, are you hiding the tomatoes to freak me out?
No, I swear. She's suspicious. I don't care, she'll cool down. Mess around with dogs and all that. Go check my fruit trees. The fuckers have even bigger leaves than before. Idea comes up. Could it actually be the tomato man? Kinda skeptical, but I'm so intrigued at this point that I decided to test this. Night comes, go to bed. So I spent the rest of our stay regularly. I stopped mentioning the tomato man to my GF though. But every day I experimented with throwing away some small amount of food. I decided to go with two variables, the first one being the type of food, and the second one the location of throwing away. The results were pointing to a clear result. I tried various foods, some meat, some carrots, some junk food, also some beer because why not? I also scattered them at different locations. Naturally, this was done rigorously, one food at one location before going to sleep. Only after throwing tomatoes behind the house did I notice the trees improving the day after. I was stunned, but I kept my composure, and I also decided to not tell my GF, or anyone else for that matter. Others wouldn't be of any help anyway. So we spent our 2 weeks here. I noticed the progress in the trees, and was happy. I wondered what would happen in my absence, since no one would be here to give tomatoes to the tomato man. I get that it might not be an entity or a male or something like that, but it feels nice to call it the tomato man. Fast forward to the end of summer, my GF, my dog, and I are going to the village again. I brought a bag of tomatoes specifically for the tomato man. I was really nervous about seeing the trees, but once we got there I was relieved to find they've grown some more and that the surrounding greenery was also in good shape. While spending the week there, every day I gave some tomatoes to the tomato man, and eventually the whole bag was gone, as planned. The trees and the grass were in good shape. They don't appear to be making the same quick progress like when I first noticed the connection, but all the plants seemed really healthy and nice. While I'm away from the village I frequently think about the state of the trees, but every time I visit I see them in great shape. In the meantime the plum trees bore some fruits and they were delicious. I thought eventually that it could have been a series of coincidences since now everything was just behaving regularly. However, last year a bad hailstorm hit the region of the village. I was kind of worried about the trees and thought, well, they had a good run, but I'm in no hurry for them to grow. It's alright if they got wrecked. So I went to the village after the hailstorm, and met a neighbor along the way to my house, said hello to him, asked about the hailstorm, and he said it was pretty bad and his trees got all fucked up. I told him what a shame and went to my house expecting the trees to be all fucked up, but to my surprise they were barely hurt. At this point I stopped doubting the mysterious connection between the tomato man and the trees, and I kinda regret not bringing any tomatoes this time. You have to understand, it would have been logical for me to assume that the tomato man wouldn't protect the trees from the elements, but somehow he did. Since then I always bring some tomatoes to the tomato man. It's a small price to pay for the well-being of the trees and the surrounding greenery. I know this isn't a scary story, but it's really weird. I honestly have absolutely no idea how this works. Maybe I could experiment in some way, but I don't really have any ideas. I'm not a scientist by any measure. If you have any ideas on how I could find out more about how this tomato man works, let me know.
Alright. I feel a little silly even writing it down, but here we go. My supernatural encounter. Be me, 17. Dad loves to hunt. always go with him. We've had a real bad string of not getting drawn. After another year of not getting drawn, Dad just buys some expensive tickets to hunt on local res. Kind of a splurge, but it was on my dad and he could afford it. Super beautiful land. Keep spotting deer all over. No elk, only got tags for elk. I'm okay with it. My favorite part of hunting is just walking around and spending time with my dad. He was a surgeon when I was a kid, so I spent a lot of my childhood not really knowing who he was. Really just came home to eat or sleep. Anyway, we walk around all week, and it runs me ragged. We get to a nice meadow one day and my dad says he's gonna take a nap in the shade. Tells me to keep an eye on the meadow. Elk wander into them all the time. Just chilling out in the beauty when I see some movement. Peek at it through my scope. Just another herd of deer. Take my finger off the trigger. I know. I shouldn't have even put it on the trigger before I knew what I was looking at. I'm safer now. And just watch him through the scope. Few minutes later, deer scatter. Just fucking bolt. Absolutely terrified. Weird, but neat. Maybe another predator is nearby? Not too worried. My gun is honestly stupidly big. Even for elk, mostly just curious. Wait to see more movement. Eventually, I see something move across the clearing. Look through the scope at it. It's just another deer. Looks a little bit funny, but not like Fallout bad. Just a little gangly. Moves are a little funny too. Deer are really graceful. This thing just kind of bumbles. Honestly, just assumed it was real young or something. It walks a little more into the clearing, then stops. Look directly at me through the scope. Already a little bit weird. I'm a good 400 meters out and in the shade. It shouldn't be able to see me and it shouldn't be able to catch any lens glare. Deer rears back on its hind legs, and the front legs just like twist. I've seen deer on their hind legs before, but they can't put their front legs at their sides like humans can. This fucking thing does. Posture still isn't human cause deer don't have a center of weight like that, but it can put its fucking hooves at its side and it just stands and looks at me. Then it bolts across the clearing. Even then it's on two legs. Even though it looks ridiculous, it's moving way faster than normal deer. If I had to eyeball it, I'd say this freak hit 30-ish. Get a long period to look at it. 20 seconds at least. Got that super forward-leaning sprint of sprinters, but it's a deer on two legs. It's not moving towards me, it's just headed across the clearing. Don't know why I didn't shoot it. I think part of my brain was still worried about the elk versus deer tag thing. Sounds really dumb saying it out loud, but I wasn't really worried. I was just baffled and kind of grossed out. After it's gone, tell my dad about it. He thinks I must have hallucinated it. I had only slept about 4 hours a night for the last 3 nights. I was a major insomniac in high school and sleeping anywhere but my house made it a lot worse. We walk out to the meadow to look for footprints. All we find is the pair of prints from where I saw it on 4 legs. Nothing from the 2-legged stage. Only weird detail is that the areas that it went through had a weird smell that both me and my dad noticed. Like old pennies and bleach. It was weird. I'm an atheist, so I generally don't put a lot of stock in the supernatural, but I gotta admit, that night shook me up. Weird shit.
Hey, not usually on X, but quarantine has brought me back to 4chan for the past week. I am a pretty average guy, and not much exciting has happened in my life. However, there is a story I tell regularly when the topic of most paranormal, or otherworldly, comes up. This is a UFO story that I promise is not exaggerated. Summer 2011, around 10:30 p.m. Friend and I are coming back from a girls' small get-together. Development was in the sticks, talking farms for days. Driving back home, trying not to hit any deer. Friend says he sees something moving in the sky. I remember the idea by saying it's a star. He insists this thing ain't normal. No one was on the road for miles, so I stopped and looked. This thing is moving up, down, left, and right erratically, and it seems to be trackable. It eventually stops. Ash Ketchum hat turn. We speed up the road making sure it doesn't zoom off. I turn my lights off cause I drove about 10 feet into a farmer's land. I had a 96 Ford Mustang at the time and didn't want to get stuck. It is hovering about 500 feet away from about 25 degrees of our position. Can see the bottom pretty well. Triangular, with 3 bright lights on each corner. A faint, and much smaller red light in the center. Due to our position and the lack of light in this area, I can't see much else. We gaze in awe for about 30 seconds before the central red light blinks, and small objects fall out of it. Immediately afterwards it darts directly towards the atmosphere at speeds I cannot even try to estimate. Still visible as just a bright light. Erratically moves again for less than 5 seconds. Eventually flies from our sights. That's about it. My friend and I talk about it to this day. Have had other friends layer on depth with rumors, like that there is an aviation testing facility out in those boonies. Townsend, Delaware, if anyone is wondering about locations.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.